Well, all right, here we are. Ah, so we're connecting here in our unity consciousness and starting our awakeness on air. And we're just talking about naming our hangout today, how to be thoughtless together. And so I think we'll have a pretty lively and awake. Do I think we'll? No, I sense. I sense our common senses. We'll definitely give good shares about how to be thoughtless together. So, Sperry, I'm going to pass it over to you and let's get started.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that great Lao Tzu quote you put on the invitation, Brian. How to be still like a mountain and flow like a great river. And I can sense some of that right now. I'm looking into the looking of the webcam lens in a more, as a result, very aware of my own looking and my whole body, heart, and mind, and my environment as a whole, uh, uh, energetically streaming like a great flowing river, and yet there is this mountainous stillness that I feel we're opening up into to share. And there is this very definite sense of there being a thoughtless witness. And out of this thoughtless witness, from this silence and stillness, is coming this flow of words without having to think them. And we've talked in past groups about how the cognitive unconscious, which is the vast majority of us, is assembling perceptions into meaningful wholes and presenting them to the so-called conscious mind that can just operate as a witness. So there is a collaboration between thought and thoughtlessness. They can coexist very well together, and it's so peaceful and pleasant to be and mystical and joyful and loving to feel this communion of thought and thoughtlessness. So many people talk about mindfulness, and so the mind can be quite full, and yet at the same time there is this imageless, void-based witnessing, which is constant context for that mindfulness to happen in. So today I'd like to suggest that we could explore how to be thoughtless together. And so we'll take turns in each speak and practice this as an exercise. And who would like to speak next?
Um, as I'm barging into this, plunging into this exercise without, trying to not to grab onto any thought, or my first sensation is, oh my God, what am I going to say? It's like destabilization, so to speak, like as if thoughts were something to grab on. So second things that comes up is playfulness. It's like, oh, well, anything goes for me. So the smile comes up, and also being more present to my body, to less in my head, more in my body. So I'm like, oh, I inhabit my body more with my consciousness. and present to others. This is coming up. It's like I see it emerging in real time. This series of reactions. There may be some silence also, maybe some deep listening of others. In the more receptive, what I'm trying to say is more that there is a receptivity that is present in when I'm not trying to conceptualize or go into stories or think about the past or say something smart. So that's it for now. Pass the mic.
Yeah, I also really am surprised of how I can just speak into the void, our void here, and our deep receptivity, which is great. And I have no particular thought about what I'm going to share and how I'm going to share it. I also feel my body and feel ever present. There's a presence. There's an equality of being seen and heard and felt, and seeing and hearing and feeling. I sense or imagine this is much like, being as a child, and just sharing whatever that's up. And there's also a wholeness. There's a kind of, as we've already sensed, that self-organization, all of our 50 trillion cells held here in unity, that everything self-organizes magically or automatically. And it's also really beautiful to present from my left brain to point to my right brain. So there's even in this body, heart and mind, a harmonization. I love to practice it. I love that we share unity consciousness together and give each other space to be thoughtless together. And it's so frequent to, our waking reality, I will affirm, is changing. It is transforming. Just by our very being fully awake and present with others gives others an opportunity to tune in to their thoughtless self as well. So, yeah, I also really enjoyed the quote of being still like a mountain and flowing like a mighty river. And once we're in unity consciousness together, it's even more palpable or even more omnipresent for me. Like right now, just noticing, my noticing and noticing, putting my attention on attention itself. And see who's seeing, who's experiencing. And a huge level of intimacy to be seen so deeply. And to rest. I'm resting in seeing deeply and being seen deeply. To a great extent, because each of us we are here. This is what we're doing together. Alright, pass the mic.
In my experience right now, Um, Thoughtlessness seems to come about uh, experientially uh, only through being aware of thoughtlessness. Uh, there has to be um, I have to be seeing it deeply. I have to be experiencing it directly and immediately, visually. So as I look into the webcam lens, I mean, the whole environment visually is solarizing at first. There is at one level, it seems at first as though everything is out of focus, but the more I'm just simply aware of what it is that I'm feeling and seeing and sensing, intuiting, and even the thinking mind. What is it? It has an energy to it. It doesn't have to be producing audible thoughts that I can hear in my mind. It may be certainly thinking in the background outside of so-called conscious awareness. But I need to be directly perceiving what there is to perceive in as complete a way as possible. So all that I am conscious of right now, even with this 3 to 5% of my neurology, the more I am noticing all of it, all at once, the quieter my mind is. And so it comes to be that it actually looks as though I'm looking at thoughtless awareness. And when the more I see it, in each moment I see more of it, it seems to open up and spread out and really embrace and then really become everything, as though it's the source of everything that I'm perceiving. Or it's the ground or the space in which all the changes are occurring, and the changes and what is changeless are seamlessly interchanging. Form and formlessness are, it's hard to tell where one begins and the other ends. I mean, is there a horizon between form and formlessness? And so I'm investigating, exploring experientially here. And it's really satisfying and fulfilling to directly investigate by progressively relaxing into this integrity of all that I'm capable of noticing as a whole. I can feel tensions release inside my skull and throughout my body. And the flow of the great river is getting greater. And the mountainous nature of this stillness is revealing itself. It's really quite magnificent. And I adore thoughtless awakeness. Wow, what a fantastic thing to look upon. We look upon flowers and beauty every day in nature, and I must say, after so many decades of exploring this experientially, that looking upon thoughtless awakeness is the most magnificent of all, by far and away, because it contains everything, and it transcends everything, and it transforms everything. And I feel more alive because I'm fresh and new every moment. And it just feels so joyful to be able to share this, and not just be alone in individual meditation, but to be able to talk and commune with my dear friends here online in public. It's incredible, but it's totally believable. So pass the mic.
Well, it's funny. The first thought that comes to mind is when you think about thoughtlessness is wow. I thought about that. It's no fun. We are so used to be entertained, to have all these things. And then now that I'm sitting into it, I feel like it's another world, like you said, Sperry. It's another. All of a sudden I notice things that I don't normally notice because I'm so busy listening to the narrative of my own experience, because that's what the thoughts are. And I'm not saying the thoughts are not arising. I'm saying I don't grab onto them. I just let them go. They kind of come like little clouds and they disappear, and I don't follow the trail, so to speak. And so what's coming up for me is a sense of expansion, like deep breath, and it could be a flow. I never thought about a flow, but it could be a flow actually. Now I feel it. It's like my body and my heart are expanding. Seems like in an horizontal way to me right now. And and out of that, I feel this sensation that I normally would call love when I put a label on it. But it's just a noticing a sensation of whatever. I don't have a name now for this. I know that I'm bouncing. My energy is vibrating high. So we could, I could. I wonder whether calling love is a thought, but anyway, it's along those lines, of inclusiveness, and I feel you're also that I'm together with my friends here and the people online. And it takes a moment of trust to do this. It takes the willingness to be vulnerable, because to be vulnerable and to be open. And I pass the mic.
So I'm going to continue to just speak from thoughtless awakeness. And what I'm sensing is how inviting and different our experiences for our viewers as well. I'm sure we have some new viewers, and we have seasoned viewers, also fans of thoughtless awakeness, and maybe it's like, wow, how to get it. And what's interesting is one of the biggest shifts we have here is it's really a shift from the content. Yes, we're speaking about thoughtless awakeness, and what's different is the context. The context is the audience here, which is also the participants, is practicing being thoughtlessly awake with each other while we're talking about it. The very essence of walking our talk is what we're doing. And we've seen over and felt and experienced over many awakeness hangouts that folks consistently experience unity consciousness and experience being awake as one. So experience oneness. And a couple things, obviously, the grazing on the gazing, or staring, if it's staring, just maintaining an unbroken, undivided gaze with our webcam helps. Noticing what we're noticing while we're noticing it. Speaking in present tense, avoiding speaking about past or future, and avoiding over-conceptualizing. So again, noticing what we're noticing while we're noticing it. So I'm noticing my excitement of sharing our general guidelines in a fun and informative way here with you. Because I sense and I imagine as a new viewer, it's like, hey, what's going on here? It's kind of like getting the joke, to some degree, is getting unity consciousness. And from our experience, we know that our body, hearts, and minds, and our 50 trillion cells love and rest and relax deeply in unity consciousness. Another access is putting our attention on attention itself. Another access is seeing who's seeing. Another access is to see deeply and to be seen deeply, which also relates to our other senses. To be heard and to hear. And we'll finish with what our viewers may experience is our very deep listening. There's a deep receptivity. And it's because we have formless, we have the void included into our experience. 99.999% of entire existence is empty and void. It's formless. Only 0.001% is actually form. And much of the media and much of habituated ways of being are in that 0.001% of form bouncing around like pinballs. So what we do here is to include our 99.999% of formlessness right into our experience. And even doing it right now, it may sound like a lot of content. It's still in the context of being thoughtless. So, with a nice deep breath, we'll continue to maintain our thoughtless awakeness and pass the mic.
My sense is that the most inductive thing that we can do as individuals and as a group, or even as a species, is to demonstrate, and by causing thoughtlessness, rather than talk about it, primarily we do it and describe it as an experience. And by describing it right now, experientially, it seems to radiate it or make it available as a quality of presence, shared presence, shareable presence. So it has an energetic element and nature to it. There is right now this sense of ever greater spaciousness, and that the spaciousness itself, that 99.99%, is actually forming the 0.0001%. And so there is a dynamic interaction that if I am aware with all of you of what it is that my experience of spaciousness, and I'm describing that, I'm really looking at it and seeing it and feeling it, sensing it in my whole body, heart, and mind. Only then can I actually sense the creation of form or the creation of thought. You know, my own creation, the very act of creation that is moment by moment, which is so thrilling to feel this belonging to creation, and that I am, by how I'm paying attention, how I'm behaving, that I can participate consciously as a co-creator with all of you. So it's a lot like you know, surfing on a wave, body surfing, or you know, flowing in the riptide on along the beach, being pulled along in the warm tropical water. And it has this quality of just absolute, total, timeless, formless presence. That the formlessness of it all, the vast majority of it all, is formlessness, forming form. That the presence of formlessness, which has no image, and there is no time or space. I know that sounds paradoxical, that space could be made up of spaceless, timeless presence, which is, another word for that is just emptiness. That in the perception of emptiness right now, I am, and describing it, pointing to it, experiencing it, that I am more intimately participating in the creativity and the causing of more love and joy and peace to happen here and now. It's great to get a handle on what my purpose is, what our purpose is, and to take part in that with all of you. Wow, it's such a blissful experience. It's really, it's like being bathed in bliss or something. It's really exquisite. Thanks. Pass the mic.
It seems to me that that thoughtlessness in this moment doesn't seem to, it's not the absence of thought per se, but the inclusion of all the possible thoughts, and not pointing my attention to any of them, to any of the possible thoughts or possible things that can that I could be distracted by, and just also keeping a soft focus with my eyes, and with my, you know, taking my glasses off helps. I noticed that in the moment that this 0.001% of form is expressing itself right now, in a way, through my words. The words are form. In a sense, they have sound. They're not. And so but they seem to emerge from this ground, from this, vast expansion. And they emerge, and they seem to emerge in a certain way because they seem to emerge almost like a creation. They are a creation, actually. And they're pointing to that source. It's like these words are pointing to the source where everything comes from, rather than to themselves. So we may even start. I'm just sensing that we may even start talking a little differently, maybe slower, maybe like a little bit like visionaries. Like when you see something, with your not with your eyes, but with your whole being. So words could be, they have a different weight, so to speak. All of a sudden they are not just noise. They're creations. So that's what I'm sensing now, arising from this awareness that we share together. I pass the mic.
So I sense great bliss. It's so peaceful, and it does pervade, and it surpasses the need for understanding. And what I'm tuning into is more of an emotive quality, and the emotions of bliss and joy and delight and expansiveness. It really does have a spacious, expansive, ever-present, there's a sensitivity, like a sea of sensitivity, and it really is. It's an isness. Yeah, that's another. It's an abundant is. It's continuing to unfold, and in terms of thoughtlessness, it's surprising an ability to just shift our anchoring from anchored onto a narrative and audible thoughts or heard thoughts, and to become fixated on certain things, which can be very stressing. I love what you shared, Nellie, about to include all possibilities of thought. So to tune into, and it's like billions and billions of perspectives, and include all of them. So as an aspect of the no thought is that every single thought is available, and that in my enthusiasm and my share is just to condense from formless into form our shared reality. And I bet we even have all the thoughts of future viewers are included in our sharing right here, and very delightful. And I'm relieved. I have a great sense of relief to practice, because in practicing we're shifting our human behavior, and we have such a wonderful technology available. There's both giving us real-time video conferencing and recording. even better to be thoughtless right now. And we have all the tools to record our memories here. And very nice. Okay, I'll pass the mic.
So, one of the yogic stretching of this exercise is that the more coherent and integrated is this experience throughout my whole being, and it doesn't really feel like that my being is separate from all beings. That there's really only one being, one existence, one life that I am an expression of. A cell in the body of nature, this orgasm of consciousness that is evolving and recreating itself as a whole, that there is a stretch of that can be perceived as uncomfortable or unfamiliar, though welcomed when it is familiar. And there is a distinct experience of, in this thoughtless, awake, witnessing awareness, of ever greater power. Every moment there is it's like a gathering storm of, and maybe why there's the experience of some of these martial artists that practice this way of being and can make paper burst into flames or can boil water with their bare hands and heal and reorganize and cohere the body-mind with their chi, is that there is this tremendous energy here when it's all consolidated and brought into focus through effortless emptiness. Stillness itself assembles all that is in motion because it's all indivisible. And so the stillness really has the power. The emptiness has power over form. And there's this enormous stretch into expressing this greater amount of energy humorously and intelligently, to be able to communicate it. It's a challenge to be able to share it. And there's the experience of how when people are doing martial arts and they're about to break a brick or in half with their bare hands, that they go "Muka!" It's this expression of this very energy. I mean, I'm being very tame in a way to talk in a normal way, forming words out of this formlessness. But really, there is this mountain of energy that is flowing like a great river, and it wants to go smack it down, but that gets out, just for fun. And because in the expression of this tremendous force of nature that we are channeling, there is, what are we going to do with this energy? Then we need to explore how to be with this. I mean, for example, we know that, whole symphony orchestras, when they are so in sync, playing together, they experience levitation. It feels like they're actually lifted off the stage about 2 or 3 inches. That observation and gravitation are proving to be the same in physics, in that the coherence an organization of our observations actually are making me feel like I don't have any weight. Feels like I'm effortlessly able to be like this. So I'm freed from effort. I'm liberated from suffering because there's just so much. I'm just engorged with gorgeousness. Who would like to speak next?
Yes. What are we going to do with all this power? That's a good question. um, that's and it's funny. I'm observing right now how as human beings we become enamored, in a moment of our creatures, our babies, so to speak, or our thoughts, that are, like if I particularly like one, I have, a tendency to go there, like say, oh, and watch a movie for a moment rather than the real thing, because I really see this, and I have, I get something, I have a certain feeling when I follow a certain thought that is interesting. um, and at the same time, now in this conversation, I can't help but notice that I'm in that moment when I am distracted, so to speak, I give up the sourcing. I give up this other bliss, this bliss of totality, of being the source of that thought that is entertaining me now, um, and taking me away from unity consciousness. So it's an interesting, because we're so used to do that it takes really a real practice, a real commitment to step into another world, the world of all thoughts, so to speak, rather than just one. And so like you were saying, Barry, or I was saying before, in this, when we actually are in that awareness, in that frame of mind, what comes out is an expression. What comes out in form is an expression of, it's an expression of that power, of all thought, of all possibilities. Even if we choose one, it's an expression of everything. It's an expression, it contains everything, rather than being distracted or being like, oh, at the effects of. But so there is power in whatever. It's like art, when we do art, when we so I sense that even material things, when they are created in a certain level of consciousness, they are not just that. They are everything else also. And I wonder, and I'm just exploring here, so I'm not sure whether I don't know how to say that, but it's a co-creation, actually. This is what I want to say. It's a co-creation of me watching that thing that has been created and the thing created. So we meet halfway, so to speak. But that cannot happen it can only happen here in this field of all possibilities. I sense. And I pass the mic. Let's keep on exploring.
So I'm going to try something a little bit different this time, is to really keep a focus on my undivided, unbroken gaze, and to speak from formless into form here, and to coherently commune. Maybe that's fair as saying so much energy. I think that's something I'm tuned into. Of this is a tremendous amount of energy to send across, and there's a bit of a fear it might destroy the 0.001 of form, and that would not be fun. Or would I mean, anyway, so very coherently sharing how we enjoy thoughtless awakeness, and simply putting my attention on attention itself. I'm noticing mirror-like quality and the stillness and a little light dot and some other luminescent reflections in the webcam. I'm noticing coqui frogs in my background. Smell of breakfast in the background. Feeling my body in warmth and comfort. And there's certain weightlessness. I feel in my body and comfortable and light and ease. A little bit of tension in my back, but generally easy to move around. What I'm noticing is a high level of engagement. Really tuned in. And I'm noticing an intimacy as well, a deep, deep access, a deep availability to being seen simultaneously. More breakfast smells. It's nice. Alright, I'll pass the mic.
So let's see here. It's like I do have to click myself up. The more, as time goes on in this exercise, and we sink more and more deeply into being conscious of this presence that we are made of, the stillness is more and more perceptible, and there is a direct experience of stillness coexisting. throughout every cell in my body. There's a sense of interconnectedness of my energetically, everything that's going on throughout my body. And it feels inseparable and indivisible from the environment. I feel more a part of everything that I am aware of. The attention doesn't jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, as it does when there are, I'm giving my attention to thoughts and things and activities primarily. Instead, all those thoughts and things and activities come to me and happen in me as this awake, aware witness. And I'm much happier having all those activities become inseparable from this witnessing that I am becoming ever more thoughtlessly awake as. So this exercise of just describing thoughtlessness, where thoughtlessness ordinarily doesn't receive a lot of attention, just by noticing it, it grows and becomes the very foundation of consciousness. And consciousness grows. And we know that consciousness has been, biological consciousness has been developing over hundreds of thousands of years. Our mirror neurons have been, by some estimates, developing for about 400,000 years, where we're able to experience what we're perceiving in our environment, in each other. Where the neurons in our own body essentially are picking up activities outside of us, like a mirror picks up images, and yet our mirror-like neurons are, and I can feel them, they're all wired together. and they are, through the quality of my present moment awakeness, my mirror neurons are able to better integrate all that they are reflecting as these little mirrors. And so I'm experiencing the interconnectedness of all these images that I am perceiving, and much more, ever more aware of this imageless nature of the mirror itself, in which everything is reflected. And so I am a mirror-like awake consciousness that is causing images to form in my mirror. So the mirror on the bathroom wall is a very passive thing. It's not, it's making a reflection possible. We can see ourselves in it from 3 feet away. But here, the mirror is consciousness, formless, empty, imageless consciousness. And it's wired to all the images, all the reflections. And so there's a feedback loop, a creative feedback loop, and it's, gosh, it's really exquisite to explore this experientially. I mean, what fun. I remember reading about how children in their innocence, that they could dive into a plant and actually talk about their experience of seeing the DNA directly and describing it, where, you know, Watson and Francis Crick discovered DNA in the spiral helix, but children, innocent children, could dive in there and experientially describe it directly. And so, in the innocence of this formless awakeness, any one of us is able to thoughtlessly enter into the very creation of thought and being itself, where existence is a byproduct of non-existence, of the absence of presence. So this absence, this formless, imageless awakeness that is undergirded by a structureless source, an origin that re-originates all structures. And to watch this happen, to be it happening, is ecstatically serene. And wow, to be able to meditate and arrive in these deep, ever deeper states of revelation and liberation while talking online to the public with my friends is just like, wow. I mean, like smearing myself with mangoes or something. I mean, or this is how fruits, sweet fruits, beautiful sweet fruits grow out of this unity, this formation of organic life, giving life to still more life, the fruit giving life to creatures, and creatures giving life to other creatures, and we're being reborn out of ourselves. We don't need a religion, an ideological dogma. We can be reborn directly out of our emptiness, experientially here together, online, in the 21st century. Wowee. Okay, pass the mic.
Yes. That's exactly my experience you're describing. You know, I'm experiencing this right now. This how the quality, the toroidal quality of my experience, you know, like this renewal, this receiving and giving out energy. And I also experience how what we create actually during our hangouts together is a common, you know, we join into this flow. Well, now I know what flow, now I understand the flow, because the flow comes out of, you know, and actually, apparently, you know, comes out of our throats too, and then goes up and comes back, and you know, and we give out energy, and we also receive energy from, you know, from everything. But so we seem to, and you know, I have this experience after the hangouts that I commune with things around me because I am them. You know, I become, because this flow of energy is probably activated with everything. Like, I remember once I couldn't wait to go downstairs and hug my tree. I had this moment. I was the tree. You know, so I understand I get that what you were saying, talking about children having this plunging into whatever you said, and or the mango idea, the mango experience. We could be mangoes. We can be other things. We are other things. We are one. Right. Oh, yes. That's, and it comes from this, I feel this, I feel that this output, so this intake and output um, of energy that that is us. It's not even available, it's us. So we become conscious in our conversations here of our unity. And it feels now what do we do with this energy is the question is answered. We keep on recreating and recreating more and more, and it's a forever. It's a forever motion. It's a forever flow. And I see the stillness as well in this. I sense the stillness of it. It depends on where I put my attention. Because in a single moment, it feels still. In this very moment, it feels still while in motion. It's amazing to be present to this. It's not a common experience. Okay. So in the so alive in the consciousness. We all probably have experience of feeling unity, but this is, it's like sourcing it. In these conversations, like sourcing it, being at the core of it. I pass the mic.
So I noticed some tension in my jaw, and I choose to know what it is. I think it's like, biting or trying to hold on to something, and I think it was aligned to trying to hold on to a thought, maybe. But yeah, there's a dynamic of really desiring to perfect things, or to make sure that all are maintaining formless stillness. And I recognize that this is mine to, it's my responsibility to maintain undivided attention. And that the mighty river may manifest powerful outward external crashing, and I could potentially go with the river, or I can maintain a mountain of stillness in a whirling of power rushing through. And I know Sperry's mentioned this. There is an element of spiritual bypass, or even making awakeness and thoughtless awakeness have almost an addictive quality, because it may polarize and have a desire for the good of it only, and like a self-medicating aspect of it. So I know we're getting towards the end here, maybe it would be good to speak to this a little bit more, because I'd like some more coherent and some clarity here, Sperry, because spiritual bypass and awakeness, and that is something I can sense what it is, yet to get a little more clear about, especially since we've had a wonderful yes, I am still here. We've had a wonderful hangout, and choose for us to give one or a few really good pointers for folks to keep in mind moving forward. All right, I pass the mic.
Well, this practice or this exercise that we've done here for Tuesday 90-minute power power group meditation. It's it can be compared to sleep. We sleep to rest and be still and to not think, more or less. I mean, there is certainly some dreaming that takes place, but quite a bit of sleep is dreamless. And so, in a sense, this is a way of bringing some of that restfulness, as they say that meditation can be equal to many hours of sleep. So, at the beginning of the day, to get tuned in, not only individually and as an individual meditation, but together, to experience our indivisibility with each other and ourselves and the environment in a fully embodied way, is bringing this restfulness, this peace that just permeates everything, making it feel how accessible it is. That I would not consider a spiritual bypass. It's we're orchestrating and organizing our whole body, heart, and mind in a cohering way so that we're more in the flow of life and conscious of how we're part of nature together. And allowing thoughtlessness to be part of our waking consciousness. So that as we go into the day, even though we may, not continue to deliberately practice what we've been doing here today, having done this morning, we will take this into our day, and it will affect our whole day. We will feel more lit up and turned on, and more fluid, more deeply grounded in this groundless, timeless place, and feel more free and liberated of divisiveness and misunderstandings. I've had the experience many times of once grounded here and go driving off, and lights tend to be more green instead of red, easier to find a parking space. People call me when I think of them, or I have a thought of so-and-so is going to call me, and then they call me. It's more of a somatic, telepathic, kind of synergistic experience of life. Through this practice, we bring about a more effortless level of flowing organization in every area. So we don't need to live every moment of our life as deliberately, let's say, or as thoughtlessly as we are now. But ultimately, through practice, how we experience in these groups can become our new normal. And that can become ultimately as we all evolve into being awake to that what is empty and thoughtless and free of all images and not stressed in any way, we can be in this state of consciousness together, and still be facing everything that we've created, without avoiding anything. It's just that initially, being in this undivided state calls up unattended to parts of us that we found threatening and painful in the past. And so being in undivided attention can call us to the responsibility to integrate that which we have withdrawn our attention from because we couldn't handle it before. But by developing this muscle, we can, of being, oh, yes, I am still here. We can develop this and make this muscle really strong, like through working out in this exercise here, so we can face all of this material which we have disowned and suppressed into unconsciousness when we were children because we just couldn't handle it neurologically. And now we can integrate and assimilate and digest our past in the present by being anchored in this timeless now, which is ever present. So, are we at the end time here? Yes. So,
yes, we are.
Any closing comments or anything?
Nelly, got anything?
I enjoyed it. I have to say that particularly aware of this flow now that I was in at the beginning, and also enjoyed sharing about my access to this. Also, not just for me, because I'm present to it, but also for the viewers, because I feel like, oh, there is a way to get to that. You know, it's not like automatic, right? So that was my, I think, my contribution to this. And so I'm looking forward to next time.
Right on. All right. Well, aloha from Hawaii, and we thank our viewers for participating with us. Obviously, our group becomes more expansive. It reflects itself by increasing in the number of observations per unit of space-time, right, Sperry? And now that we have more observers and more viewers, then obviously awakeness in itself is expanding and becoming more eternal, or more reflective of itself consciously through us.
Absolutely. I mean, we're responsible for creating what we are. We have been created, but we have our part to play in that. And the more of us that join together to co-create more consciousness and make more love happen and mutually understand who and what we are together, the better it's going to get. It's just going to keep getting better and better. More joy, more joy, more joy. And it's going to be more fun and more interesting, more fascinating. We're going to be freer than we could ever have imagined.
Beautiful. Yes. All right. Make it so be it.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye for now.